Hello, and thank you for calling the Millionaires of the Bible series. I want to thank all of you for being on this call this morning. My name is Issachar Bey, and I am the spiritual director of the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. And we want to thank you for being on this call this morning. I'm so excited about where we're going and where we are. Those of you who are on the call last Sunday, we had a great time talking about the unrestricted, the prosperity laws of unrestricted supply. And we begin to really get into that and really work with those prosperity principles. And I got to tell you, that was one of my favorite chapters out of this series, was the 7th chapter, which we covered last Sunday. If you didn't get a chance to hear it, you can always go to our YouTube page, which is on the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center, and you'll be able to find all of our Sunday calls as well as our wisdom lessons and wisdom calls as well. We are, I believe that as we have posted, the master teacher, Reverend Israel Malik Esters, will be making his grand return, and we're so excited and elated about his return to get some of that good teaching and really get back to where we were. I'm excited about it, and really looking forward to really getting into that great teaching and really hearing where are we going now, what direction are we moving into, and being on his sabbatical, I'm pretty sure that spirit and divine wisdom begin to really increase him and give him much more knowledge and wisdom. And so I'm just excited to hear what direction we're going into and really getting a word from the master teacher. And so we're excited about that. He will be returning on October the 3rd, which will be next Sunday. So this will be our last Sunday doing the Millionaires of the Bible series. I will be moving to Clubhouse, and then I'll also be on Patreon. Now on Patreon, Patreon is going to be our paywall, where I will be doing live teachings. You'll be able to see me on video. I'll be doing live readings, giving out prophetic words. I'll be bringing people on to give stock tips. We've been doing all that kind of stuff. So it's really going to be very phenomenal to be a part. And on the Patreon, it will be under the House of Manifestation. I will send out emails and let you guys know what we will be doing. It will definitely be opposite days. So it won't be on Sundays or Wednesdays when Awakening Light usually has their calls. But also in the Patreon, you can always go back and listen to any of the previous calls, but you also can come on live. You'll be notified when to come on live so that you can get your prophetic word live. And I have stock tips. I have our health experts coming on, giving us stuff about different things to how to build our immune systems. We'll have people talking about health conscious foods, herbs, different things that we can take to really expand our consciousness in health, wealth, finances, and prosperity. So I want to bring people on to teach us about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all of those things. So we'll be getting into all that kind of stuff. So we're really looking forward to that. So just stay tuned, and we are moving in that direction. And so I'm just excited about that. And I will still put some stuff on YouTube. I still will put some content and different things on YouTube, but for the most part, that's the direction that we'll be moving in, and we'll still be on the calls every week with you guys on Awakening Light. We're Awakening Light forever, so we'll still be doing that. So we're really excited about that. We're still in the month of September, and we are still dealing with our prosperity consciousness. We're still teaching. We're still meditating and operating under that prosperity consciousness. And today we're going to be dealing with the prosperity parable of right use. And it's from the Rags to Riches story. So chapter 8, those of you that are in the book, is page 193. And we will be dealing with that. I want to also thank all of you who have been supportive, all of you who have come on the calls, who have sowed seeds, who have just pretty much reached out and supported me as I kind of like stepped in to fill the void, so to speak, while the master teacher was gone. Definitely thank all of you, and I will be thinking a lot of you personally. I have some stuff going out to each one of you for your just being there, just to be, being committed and really, it really means a lot. So I definitely want to thank all of you who are there and who continue to, be a part of what we're doing and supporting. And it is my prayer, my intentions that the words, the lessons, the precepts, the concepts that we taught will at some point or in any way have changed your life, bring a new expansion, new level of consciousness into your life. And so we are excited about that. God is extravagant supply. He brings forth the blessed robe. He spreads the banquet table with good things on which we may feast. He overflows our cup. He opens the windows of heaven and pours out a blessing to those of us who are willing to receive it. Why are you satisfied with such meager living when you may have so much? They say that a parable is an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. I love parables. I think, anytime there's a parable, it's so fascinating because a parable really activates both sides of the spectrum. It really taps into the spiritual realm and the physical realm. And so it's a great thing when we begin to look at the word or look at the significance of a parable. Now we're dealing with talking about the prodigal son. That's the story that we'll be dealing with today. The word prodigal means to waste, and we see here as some people theologians describe this story as one of the greatest stories ever told, right? And it really breaks down and shows the exquisite, the overbearing expression of love. It shows really what's the good news of the gospel, so to speak, right? The parable has touched many hearts and also given so much meaning and so much purpose to your life, because I believe everybody can relate to this parable at some part of their life, of what they went through, experiences, and so forth. And so we will look into this today and see how to use the prosperity parable of right use. A certain man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Give me the portion of thy supply that falleth to me." And he divided it unto them his living. And now, many days after, the younger son gathered all of his together and took his journey into a far country. And there he wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent it all, there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to one of the citizens of the country. And he sent him into the fields to feed the swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare, and I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight. I am no more worthy to be called thy son. make me one of the hired servants. So this is out of Luke, the 15th chapter, 11 through 19, as we get into the parable here. Unfortunately, he had not yet developed the understanding or the maturity needed to succeed on his own. We see that he wanted his inheritance. He got his inheritance, and he went into the world. They say he went off into a far country, which means that when he went into a far country, he shifted into a different level of consciousness. He didn't stay at the level or expand his consciousness. He went to a lower level of consciousness. He went into a far country. And what happens is it says that his zeal was not yet tempered with wisdom. He had not yet learned the true source of his supply. He didn't understand the significance of his inheritance. He didn't understand who he was. He didn't understand the significance of his father's giving him his inheritance. He didn't understand the significance of it. And we see so many people who have not been mature or not been maybe too earthly minded, that they're not spiritually good, or they're too spiritually good that they're not earthly minded, that many of us just want to and grab the physical aspects of life. We just want to grab the materialistic things. Give me my inheritance. Give me what's left of me. Give me what's mine. And realize that whatever is physical is always going to be temporary. But that which is spiritual will always be eternal in the heavens. People will waste their substance, come to want in both physical and financial ways. Substance is very important to our world. The word substance literally means one's wealth has been described in biblical times. The word substance means that which stands under all visible forms of supply. I'll say that again. The word substance means that which stands under all visible forms of supply. And substance is the foundation of all true wealth. The substance. And that's what he wanted. He said, give me what's mine. Give me what has been placed aside for me. After the son went into the far country and wasted his substance in riotous living in that far country, then arose a mighty famine in the land. Nobody gave unto him, and he quickly came into a state of lack. Now, isn't it ironic? They always say that when it rains, it pours, and always, because here was a situation to where he received his inheritance, he took it all, and he left and went into a far country. Now, it seems like everything was going good as long as he had money, he had friends, he had people around him, he was popular, everything was going good. But as soon as he wasted everything and spent everything and was now in lack, here comes the famine in the land. Here comes the situation where after we have been chasing down the physical ramifications of things, and we finally have that ramification, with that spiritual ramification, we now realize that, wait a minute, I've spent all my physical supply. I went through getting this and getting that, and now that there's no more of the physical aspect of things, there becomes a lack. There becomes a lack, what they call famine in the land. And then what happens now is that because we're so connected to just the physical substance, here the son doesn't realize the true identity of who he is. He doesn't understand what he has entailed within him. He doesn't understand who he is, what he possesses. And so he was only connected to the physical things. That's why we can't get caught up into the physical ramifications of what we call riches and finances and prosperity, because those are just the effects. Having a car, a house, having the physical aspects of things is only the effects. They're only temporary. But you want the unlimited supply. You want the ability to be able to manifest money, and manifest wealth at any given time. The feeling, and then what happens also is that when he had got into a place of lack and he realized that there was a famine in the land, he went to a state of consciousness of lack. And understand, you only manifest what you are. You will never get out of life what you want. You only manifest who you are. So this story is so deep because it goes to show that he's really at a place where he's actually manifesting who he was. So sometimes, our parents used to tell us that, certain things you're not ready for, certain things, when you were younger, you wanted to experience certain things and your parents told you not yet, you're not ready for that, because they knew that you haven't got to that level of consciousness yet where you can understand and handle that. You didn't know what you were getting into. You didn't have an understanding of it. And so they begin to tell you, listen, you're not ready for that. You're absolutely not ready for this. This is something that you're not ready for. You only attract what you are, which means that when he got that inheritance and went into that far country, he was only dealing with things on the physical realm. So he lost everything because he didn't have it in spirituality. He didn't have it in consciousness. The feeding of the swine and the cat and the eating of their food was an experience in utter shame, to eat what the pigs were eating. He was eating what the pigs were eating. It was the ultimate mark of degradation. Many of us have suffered at times a form of misery or financial limitations. And our famine of loneliness and limitation, no one gave unto us, right? No one shared their abundance with us. It's a very painful famine experience, just as the marks of the far country probably remained with the prodigal son for the rest of his life, right? Your worst, I would say this, your worst memory or your worst experience of dealing with famine is very difficult to forget and overcome, because it's really that experience that really, I believe, awakens you to really show who you are. I've always said this before. You never know how strong your tea bag is until it's placed in hot water. They say that money doesn't change us. That's what they say to the 16 people that's on this call right now. They say that money doesn't change us, right? Money only magnifies who we are. And so if I gave everybody $1 million on this call, that $1 million would actually show us who you are, because you can only get out of life what you become. And so we would see how you would operate with that and see, were you able to multiply it? Were you able to enhance it? What level of consciousness are you at? Or would you run it and go buy up everything to deal with everything on the physical ramifications like the prodigal son? Would you go out into the far country and just party and buy stuff and houses and cars and do all of this stuff like that? Or would you actually allow divine guidance and divine inspiration to lead you and guide you as to how to operate with it once you received it? You are in a far country when you are in circumstances that are lacking in harmony, peace, or what they say, riotous living, or when people, places, and events, things in your world are no longer satisfactory, productive, or rewarding. As in the case of the prodigal son, that which this time to release them, right? To arise in your thinking and to make the effort to go forward into a better way of life. However, nothing happens until you first practice the release of that which has been unproductive and unrewarding. You know, when you get to a place where you're in life and life is unproductive and life is unrewarding, we have to look at the very essence of our lives. That's why, to me, it's very critical that we know what our destiny is, what our purpose is. It's very critical that we know where we're going. I'm actually, Spirit gave the word about a month ago. I told you guys to start preparing for the year 2022. We got into the understanding of getting ready for 2022. Where do you see yourself a year from now? What could you do in the next 6 months that can help you get to that place that you're going to be at in a year from now? What can you do in the next 90 days that help you in the next 6 months to get to where you need to be at in the year? We need to start planning. I'm actually working on a book right now. I don't know if I'm going to make it a memoir or not, but it's called The Evolution of Purpose. And the reason why Spirit gave me that is because one day I was meditating and I came to realize that your purpose is constantly evolving. And I think that we get frustrated sometimes, or we get to a place where we realize that, I'm just going this one place in life, or I'm just going to do this one thing in life, and that's it. No, the evolution of purpose, your purpose is constantly evolving. You are constantly growing. Anybody on this call who's listening, you are not the same place you were at year 1, at year 5, when you were at year 20, when you were year 15. Wherever age you are now, you have evolved. You're not at the same place anymore, which means that your consciousness has expanded, your wants, your needs, your experiences have changed. So you're not the same person that you were. But the same thing in your purpose and destiny. Even though you know what your purpose is, if your purpose is to be a healer, if your purpose is to be a teacher, if your purpose is to be an administrator, an organizer, whatever your purpose in life is, your purpose also evolves as you evolve. It's the evolution of purpose, which means that your purpose constantly evolves. Once you understand what your purpose is, there is no one destination you're going to get to. You're going to keep going from plateau to plateau. There is no end. There is no top when I get to the top. Because once you get to the top and you say that there's a top, there's nowhere for you to go. Then you're stagnant. You're stuck. Life is ever evolving. I want to be much more wiser this year than I was last year. I want to have more money next year than I had this year. I want to be much more wiser. I want to be much more healthier. I want to be a better person all the way around next year than I am this year. But in order to do that, I have to allow myself to evolve. Even in my purpose, even in my business, those of you who are entrepreneurs, those of you who are in business, you want your business to evolve. You want to be at a greater place in your business spectrum than you are now. I want to have more clients. I want to have more things going on. So you will see that. Me and Reverend Israel was talking, and I told him that I'm glad that he came back, and it's perfect because, he's been coaching me behind the scenes and kind of working some things and setting me up. This whole thing of me jumping in to kind of do the calls on Sundays and Wednesdays was actually his idea as well. And so, just hanging in there while he's on the sabbatical. But one of the things that you will see me do is get really in more of a deeper context of metaphysics. So you would see me taking a real deeper dive. A lot of things that you wouldn't normally see me do or see me, you really start seeing me now. So I'll really start putting myself out there a little bit more, but it will be more in the metaphysical field aspect. And you will see me more into the astrology, numerology aspects. You'll see me on those stages and so forth. I've been pretty much playing behind the scenes, but you'll start seeing me take more of an outward front page approach to things. But evolution, the evolution of your purpose will always evolve. You're never going to stay in the same situation that you are. There's somebody on this call, you're a healer. Your purpose of healing evolves. You're going to be a much greater healer 2 years from now than you are now. You will learn more things. Spirit will teach you more things. Your experience of healing other people will open your eyes to more great things and much more wisdom. You start getting understanding and seeing things differently than you are now. So even your purpose evolves. And so that's why we need to be very in tune with the divine within us. To get back to the Father's house, or I would say into a consciousness of abundance and peace, there's many things that we can do. You know, for those of us that have fallen by the wayside, who have went into a consciousness of lack, a consciousness of loss, limitations. That's why calls like this, calls like being on the call with Reverend Israel, taking classes, getting into meditations, different things like this will help you to expand and to lift your consciousness up back to the place where you need to be. You know, so I actually am excited that Reverend Israel is coming back, because I love to be poured into as well and to pour into others. But at the same time, it's always good to be in like-mindedness. You only attract what you are. You want to be around the same people who have the same level of consciousness that you are. We're studying to be millionaires in consciousness. We're studying to be great entrepreneurs, great minds of new thought, being able to master our minds and so forth. And so we are looking forward to being in that and to being connected to that. So that's what we want to do. We want to be able to really connect with that and really work with that in that. Now, we understand the prodigal son. He got his inheritance. He went into the world. He spent it. He lost everything. And then he came into a famine. He had nobody to give to him. He had nobody to give unto him, and he began to eat where the swine and the pigs ate, right? And so no matter how low you get in life, no matter how difficult life seems, always remember that once you shift your consciousness, everything in life begins to shift. We're going to see that. We're going to see how the prodigal son was able to get out of the situation he was in. Once you shift your level of consciousness, everything in your life begins to shift. And see, we've been doing it the wrong way, because when things happen in life, we've been trying to deal with them in the physical realm. You know, if we're in a lack, loss, and limitations, we would call somebody and ask them to borrow money. We would try to get a second job. We would take out a payday loan. We would go do all these different things of trying to handle the issue on the physical realm, right? But what happens is you need to shift your level of consciousness. And when you shift your level of consciousness, you let the divine guidance, the divine intuition in you begin to guide and lead you on how to get out of the situation that you're in. And you'll be surprised how events will take place to put you in the right place at the right time to get out of the situation that you're in. Getting back to the Father's house not only symbolizes attaining an uplifted state of mind, it also symbolizes arriving at an awesome awareness of God and his abundant good for each of us. Sometimes we get away from the Father's house into that far country by putting people, conditions, and events in our lives ahead of God and his goodness for us. We sometimes, as I said before, we can be so heavenly minded with no earthly good, or too earthly minded with no heavenly good, right? We can put situations and circumstances in front of us that it allows us to shift our consciousness to where we're no longer connected to the consciousness of the God in us, but we're connected to another consciousness. We can be shifting to a consciousness of want, a consciousness of lack, a consciousness of sickness, a consciousness of no appreciation, a consciousness of feeling inferior. These are the different states of consciousness that many of us have shifted into, but we have to realize that we can always shift our consciousness back up into the place at the level of consciousness where we need to be. The word famine literally means a general lack of a thing. The word famine, you know, we realized and saw even last year when the pandemic started, about the famine. We talked about the famine and the lack, but look what happened. Um, Last year will be an actual great dissertation to look at uh, dealing with a famine that has hit the land and watch how people's level of consciousness begin to shift and how people were able to transcend in the face of a famine. One of the ways you can deal with overcoming famine is begin each day with a quiet time of prayer, meditation, and inspirational study. Maybe go back and listen to some of these calls. Go back and listen to the calls of Reverend Israel. Go back and read some, articles or daily devotionals or something that motivates you and inspires you. This is a great way for you to get back into the Father's house of unlimited abundance. Charles Fillmore, which had to be one of the greatest metaphysicians of our time, he actually gives his dissertation on the far country. He says, "Our Father is always here, and we are in a far country only when we forget His presence." He is constantly giving us just what we will acknowledge and accept under His law. We can take our inheritance and divorce ourselves in consciousness from the Father, but we shall suffer the results, for then we shall not do things in divine wisdom and order, and there will be a famine or a state of lack in our lives. Let us rather seek the divine wisdom to know how to handle our substance, and the law of prosperity will be revealed to us. So see, when we learn how to handle our substance, that's why I said this on the call Wednesday night. We talked about what's your financial psychology. We talked about many of us don't need money on this call. Everybody on this call says, you know what, I wish I could have this amount of money. I don't think you need the money. I think you need the wisdom on what to do with the money. The ability to how to handle the substance. Because if you understand and have a great level of wisdom, divine wisdom, on how to handle the financial substance, it will put you in a better place because you'll be able to operate with what you have. And then when more comes in, you will be able to put together a system and structure that will constantly keep your riches, your finances multiplying and getting bigger, and your cup will begin to run over because you have understood and begin to execute and elevate and activate the prosperity laws. And I think that's so important that we do that we get to that place. I told the callers on those of you on the phone a while back, we spoke about October, and I told you that from October, I would say October the 6th, which is October the 6th is going to be the next new moon. October the 6th is the next new moon in Libra. I think it's 13 degrees Libra will be the next new moon. And this new moon, the sign Libra has to do with balance. Anybody on the call who's a Libra, they like balance. They like harmony. It is the relationship sign. Libra is the sign of relationships. It is the sign of, and it's a magnificent sign because it's a sign of relationships. If you go to the court, you see the scales, right? The balancing of the scales. Libra has to do with the balance and the harmony and balance, right? It has to do with having that balance, the physical and the spiritual balance in life. We will be having the new moon on October the 6th. From October the 6th to from October the 6th until February, we will be going through some rough times. As far as with the COVID, you will see more cases. You'll see different things happening with states. It's going to be a very trying time for us as we go through this fourth quarter of the year. And we will also be dealing with the understanding of what to do, right? What is it that we need to do during that time? We need to make sure, as I say all the time, that we're continually building our health and making sure that we are dealing with every aspect of our lives. And you know, I'm just actually excited that we will be doing that. Now, I wanted to also give you guys a heads up. We're getting ready to go into another Mercury retrograde. Mercury will go retrograde on September the 27th at 1:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it will go retrograde until October 18th, 11:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, Mercury will go retrograde from September 27th until October 18th. Now, during that time, you may have, we may see some problems in communication, technology. We will see, you know, some things happening with. We'll see some things happening with communication. So tomorrow, Mercury will go retrograde, or actually 1 o'clock in the morning, it will go retrograde. And I wanted to just give you guys, to let you guys know. So a lot of times during Mercury retrograde, when we had the last Mercury retrograde, we saw that Facebook and Instagram went down for a short period of time where it was not operational at all. We saw that they had issues with the phone systems, AT&T and T-Mobile and Sprint. All those had issues. People weren't able to use their phones. They weren't able to send text messages. They weren't able to do anything. We see that the communication aspect was affected very, very, very dearly. During the Mercury retrograde, you might see people of the past show up in your life, people that you haven't spoke to in years, people that you haven't seen or heard from may reach out to you. So these are the certain things. I would just say during Mercury retrograde, just be very careful in your communication pursuits. Mercury retrograde, it means that the planet Mercury will be going backwards now. Mercury represents communication, how we speak, write, talk, communication. So anything dealing with communication will now be going retrograde. So you want to make sure that any documents you sign, you want to make sure you check them out, make sure that you are signing correctly, making sure that you go over things. Phone calls, you want to make sure that when you hang up the phone is actually hung up. You know, you just got to be very careful during Mercury retrograde with all kind of communication. So you will see things happening with communications. You may have issues with your computer, the internet went out, or the printer is not connected to the internet, and just all kind of communication things will begin to take place. So that's what we're dealing with. So I just wanted to let you guys know astrologically where we are, because as above, so below. And so we always want to be in the right place at the right time. One of the things you guys will see me doing is really get more into my astrology. Although I know it very well and do private readings, I've never been out in the public where you can see me teaching and lecturing and so forth. So you will see me doing a lot of that coming forth, even as we're moving to this place again where we're moving into now, where it's going to be very vital that we are on our health consciousness as we get ready to go through these very hard times that are coming into, as I told you, from October to February. Now, if there's anybody on this call that wants to start a business, I would tell you to start it after October the 11th. The reason being is because Saturn will begin to go direct on October the 11th. Saturn is the planet of business. And I would tell you, those of you that are starting a business, make sure that whatever you do, make sure that you have set it up to become digital. You want to make sure everything you're doing is digital, because we're getting ready to go back to a place again like we did last year where everything is going to be digital. Everything is going to be online and so forth. So let's just make sure that we are really connected on that. You also want to, definitely look into doing that. If you want to start a business or start some kind of community or whatever you want to start something brand new, I would do it after the 11th of October. So I just wanted to put that date out there for you. One of the affirmations that I love to use says, I am the rich child of a loving father. So I do not depend upon persons or conditions for my prosperity. I look to God for guidance and supply, and I dare to prosper now. And so it is. We're not looking to people, places, or things. We're looking to the God within us. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. But if you seek first the kingdom of God, which is already in you, guess what? You become the very thing you seek. So once I seek the kingdom of God in me and I find the kingdom of God, I become the kingdom of God. I connect with it and become one with it. But it says after you seek the kingdom of God, all these things will be added unto you. It has to be added unto me because I have come to the realization of the oneness within the kingdom of God within me. And so now I'm able to add everything to me. Despite the rags to riches and the rags, our Father always recognizes his sons and daughters. While a person is yet a very way off in consciousness, a loving Father recognizes his own child. God's forgiveness is never a mere pardon. It wipes out the sins, mistakes of the past, and restores the soul, body, and financial affairs of the one who is returning in consciousness to the source of his supply. This segment of the parable points out that God is a father of love and forgiveness. No matter what we thought, said, or done, the God of abundance still wishes to help us and bless us by wiping away all things of the past. A lot of times, whatever we've done in the past, we ourselves, not other people, but we ourselves need to learn how to let things go. People will always connect you to what you've done, but you are not what you did. You're not what you have done in the past. They always say it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to, right? But a lot of times we are still holding on to things that we've done in the past that we were ashamed about, that we didn't think were right at the time, and we're embarrassed. And so we hold on to those things instead of letting those things go. But you have to understand that when you are coming from the far country back into your Father's house, you got to let those things of the past go. Everybody makes mistakes. There's nobody on this call who's perfect. We've all made mistakes. We will continue to make mistakes because we're not perfect. But we understand that even in the mistake, there's a divine lesson in that. There's a divine lesson. There's also divine wisdom in that. And so we will begin to learn how to deal with that. We learned back in the prosperity, the Millionaires of the Bible series, when Joshua made a mistake and thought that these people were homeless, and they weren't homeless. They were actually the other soldiers who were portraying to be like they were homeless and portraying to be like they didn't have anything, only to trick Joshua. But he was able to realize the mistake that he made. And he learned from that mistake. It gave him divine wisdom. It gave him divine strength. It just brought him to a whole nother level of consciousness. So we have to understand, don't be afraid to make a mistake, But even if you make a mistake, don't hold yourself to it. Release it and let it go. I think one of the greatest problems we all have on this call, a lot of us are carrying things we should have let go of years and years ago. We're still carrying psychological, emotional baggage that we should have released a long time ago. And we're still holding on to those things that people did to us, things that people said to us, things that people have done to hurt us or try to destroy us, or whatever the case may be, right? We've got to learn how to let those things go, because we are the ones that are hurting ourselves, not the people outside of ourselves. It's us, because we're holding on to those things. Many of us are still carrying the emotional, the psychological baggage that we need to let go of. We're carrying too much. What happens now is the prodigal son, what they say he did was one of the things that I love. Is that the first thing they say that he did was he arose. And said, let me go back to my father's house. Now, what's interesting here is that when they say that he arose, before you can do anything, you have to first see. You got to first see yourself doing it. You got to first arise, shift your level of consciousness. He was in a consciousness of lack, loss, and limitation. In order for him to get to the place where he could even go back to his father, he had to shift his level of consciousness. He had to shift. He had to shift his level of consciousness in order to get back to the place. How many of us, no matter what situation you're in, you got to be able to shift your level of consciousness. You got to be able to shift your level of consciousness from where you are back to the Father's house. He didn't just jump up and say, oh, I'm going back to my Father's house. No. He had to make sure that his consciousness was shifted first. This actually goes back to the man at the pool of Bethesda. When he says, Jesus walks up to the man, Jesus tells him, arise, take up your bed and walk. Jesus tells the blind man at the pool of Bethesda to rise, because before you can do anything, you got to shift your level of consciousness. You have to consciously be in order before anything can happen in the physical realm. No matter what you're going through, those of you on this call, you have to first make sure that you are shifting your level of consciousness. The word arise means to go from one level of consciousness to the next. You got to be able to shift your level of consciousness before we do anything. And so it takes patience, understanding, to find the place where we can master the ability of moving our level of consciousness first. Many of us will jump up and try to deal with things in the physical realm And we get frustrated because the changes are not happening. The changes are not going to happen because the change must be done on the inside. It's an inside job. If it doesn't happen on the inside, then it doesn't happen. So we got to get to the place where we are understanding the ability to shift our consciousness. That this is actually great, because I love the fact that we're able to see that in its entirety. The next time you have an issue or circumstance and you feel like you're going through and you need to make a change, all you got to do is make the shift. So he makes the shift, he arises, he shifted his consciousness, and he goes back to his father. His father sees him coming and says, listen, thou art my son. Thou art ever with me. All that I have is mine, is thine. And he tells him to go get the fatted calf, and they have this big party because the son is coming back. But now the other brother is upset because he's saying, my brother walked out, took his inheritance, went into the world, spent everything he had, was broke, down and out, came back, and now he's coming back. You're throwing him a party. I've been here by your side all the time, and you never threw me the party. But the brother who stayed didn't understand that at any given moment he could have anything he wanted to have. You gotta be happy for other people. This is your brother who lost everything, who's coming back. He was able to shift his level of consciousness. He was able to find his way back home to the Father's house. He was able to come back by connecting and elevating to the level of consciousness that would have allowed him to come back home. But now that he's coming back home, I'm happy. I'm happy that he's coming back home. I didn't go out looking for him. I didn't force him to come back home. I didn't go out and force him. But because he's coming back to the place where I believe is the greatest place for him to be is in his Father's house, then yes, we're going to celebrate it. We're going to be joyful. And this is a very special occasion. You're always going to have people who are going to be upset about your receiving your good. You're going to always have people who are going to be indifferent or jealous about you receiving your inheritance and receiving your abundance and receiving your wealth and getting the things that you're supposed to get. So you're going to always want to be careful of not getting connected with that, not allowing that not to be bothered by who doesn't like you or who is indifferent of you receiving what it is that you're receiving. The greatest deliverance that you can have in life is the deliverance over other people's opinion. It is the greatest deliverance to have a deliverance over other people's opinion, to not worry about what people think about you, not to be worried about what they say about you or how they feel about you, but to realize that no matter what they feel, say, or think about you, it cannot change your destiny. It cannot change your purpose, because you are in control of your destiny and your purpose. I believe that it's the greatest deliverance to be delivered over other people's opinion. We don't care how they feel about us. We don't care what they say about us. We don't care the things that they're saying about us, because in retrospect, I'm in control of my life. I have my plan set up. I know I want to be in 2022. I know the things that I'm putting in order. After October the 11th, I'm going to start this new digital business. I'm going to put these things in perspective. I'm going to go and start my coaching business. I'm going to start my service business. I'm going to put things in perspective. I'm going to go out here and launch out into the deep. Find the fish, the first one that comes up, take the money out of it, and begin to do the things that I need to do. And when we do that and come to that place where we overcome that, we learn how to be the bigger person. We learn how to express love. Love is the greatest healer of all. You know, I've had this conversation with plenty of people before where they say, oh, I don't want to get in a relationship anymore because love hurts. You know, I was in this relationship, I was married, and I loved this man and I loved this woman, and love just hurts. No. Love don't hurt. It's impossible for love to hurt. Somebody who you was in a relationship with didn't understand love, and they hurt you. But love can never hurt. Love is one of the greatest things that ever was invented in mankind. Love is the greatest healing force that we have. Love can never hurt. The person that you are in a relationship with hurt you, but love never hurt you. And so when we look at that from that perspective, we learn how to operate out of love. That those that are indifferent towards us, those that may be jealous of us, those that may have said, well, you know, that person was down and out and they came back and everybody's all excited about them. I've been here all the time. I've been here supporting and been here. They're not celebrating me. Don't worry about it. You stayed at your level of consciousness. You were able to operate and elevate, and at any given time we can celebrate you. But this is the one that got away, that went away and came back, that shifted to another level of consciousness and almost lost everything, almost lost his life. But he was able to shift his consciousness back to the place where he was able to come back home. And for that, we will celebrate him. And for that, we will celebrate you. Those of you who are on the call, we will celebrate you as you get out of your your thoughts, your consciousness of lack, loss, and limitation, and you come back to the Father's house. You come back to the place where you can receive your abundance, your prosperity, that you can elevate at your millionaire level of consciousness, that you can operate under the dynamic laws of prosperity. And so we look into that, and we bless that because we understand in its totality the importance of elevating and being in that position to go from rags to riches. Because really, it really should have been riches to rags, back to riches, because he was already rich. He got his inheritance, and then he lost everything and came back again. So look at that. He was already rich. He went out into the world and took his riches, lost everything, because when he took his riches and said, I want my inheritance now, he was operating in the physical realm. He went out into the world, and I told you already in the beginning, everything that's physical is temporary. And so he lost it because it was only temporary. It wasn't an eternal situation. And then he arose. That's what the Bible says. He arose. He went to another level of consciousness. He realized that, wait a minute, the supply, the substance that I really need is intangible. It's already in me. So he shifted his level of consciousness back to the place, and he was able to now come back to his Father and receive back the riches that he had lost in the physical realm. He was able to manifest them and get back to the place where he was supposed to be, which was in his Father's house. So this morning, I asked the question, how many of us are willing to now arise and shift our level of consciousness from where we are to the place where we need to be and go back to the Father's house and receive our riches? We're not looking for quick, rich schemes. We're looking for longevity. We're looking for legacy. And so as we continue to do those things, we will see things being made manifest as we go from that level of consciousness and actually elevate it up to a consciousness of prosperity, abundance, of wealth. and will continue to operate in our millionaire consciousness. I want to thank all of you for being on this call this morning. I hope that you guys have received a great abundance of awareness, of prosperity, golden nuggets, affirmations, different things that we can use to elevate our consciousness. I told you guys last week about a stock that Archbishop Eben R. Jordan is talking about, and these are like some of the things I will be doing on my Patreon, where we will be doing bringing in stock experts and different people. I believe that if we're going to be operating as millionaires and dealing with a millionaire's consciousness, that we need to know how to operate in that in that world, in the stock market and so forth. And so I will be bringing people on to deal with some different things. I have a great friend of mine by the name of Will Roundtree. He is a credit repair specialist. I've known him for so long. I knew him for years, over, I would say, almost over 20 years now, right? And I've watched him expand and blow up to be one of the biggest credit repair guys almost in the world. 1 million views on YouTube and Instagram, and I mean, he's really doing his thing. He's getting people into real estate, showing people how to get credit lines of credit of $50,000 and better. The guy is phenomenal. I'm going to be bringing him on to help us get our credit together, give us some tips on how to get our credit together, how to, if you have good credit, what could you do? There's so many stories I could tell you that I personally dealt with. Will, he actually got my credit up to over 700, and just the things that I was able to do that really blew my mind. He has a great level of wisdom. And so these are some of the people that I will be bringing in on the Patreon. So, like I said, we will be keeping you connected to that as we get ready for the master teacher, Reverend Israel Estes, to come back on next Sunday. The stock that I was telling you about is called DNA. D as in dog, N as in Nancy, A as in apple. DNA, and it's a biometric company. And last I checked, when I told you last week the stock was $11.97, then I checked again. I think it's up to $12.90, so it's growing. So I'm telling you guys, this is one that you may want to jump on. So we will be, still constantly talking to you about that, getting you guys into dealing with that. We're going to move now into our level of circulation. So this Wednesday will be the last call. I'm going to do the lessons of wisdom. I believe Reverend Israel will be going back on his calls on Wednesday nights as well. I haven't picked the day yet of when I'm going to do mine, but I definitely will keep you posted also through email and let you guys know what day we're going to be on Clubhouse and then what actually I'm going to be putting on our YouTube page, some of our content as well. So we're in the month of September. We've been operating on the prosperity consciousness. I also see here, I want to thank you already. Wow, the master teacher, Reverend Israel, has already sowed his seed, circulation, our prosperity seed of $91.11. Reverend Israel, if you want to come on the line and talk, let me know. But I do appreciate you. Thank you for being one of the first to sow. We've been dealing with the prosperity seed of $91.11. It's actually Reverend Israel himself has been the one that actually gave me the divine intuition, which was in connection to what I already had did the Wednesday on the call beginning that's September the 1st, when I began to move by divine wisdom to start moving into the teachings of prosperity for September. And so the $91.11 actually comes out to the seed of expansion. It actually comes out to the seed of expansion. It also deals with the ability to uh, shift yourself into a new level. I call it the seed of self-expression, right? To be able to take that which is inside of you and begin to release it into the physical realm. So it is that transformational self-expression seed. And we believe in operating in circulation. Those of you that operate in circulation, what happens is this, is that we begin to circulate whatever we release out of our hands. We believe that it circulates back to us 100-fold return. 100-fold return. And so we are honored that all of you, there's 22 people on this call, those of you that will do the 9111, I ask that everybody on this call put something in the ground, put a seed in the ground. Whatever you need, sow a seed for the need. Your seed will supply the need that you have in your life, whether it's a bill that needs to get paid, rent that gets to get paid, a health issue, a car issue, anything that you need, sow a seed for that need. The seed will supply the need. And begin to name that seed that you're putting in the ground. There's 4 ways that you can give. The first way that you can give is going to be Cash App. It's going to be $TOESC. That's Temple of Enlightenment Spiritual Center. TOESC. We also have PayPal, which is going to be Issachar Bey, ISSACHARBEY @gmail.com. And it's also going to be Zelle, which is also going to be Issachar Bey, ISSACHARBEY, Issachar Bey @gmail.com. And then we have Venmo, which is going to be the @ Issachar, ISSACHAR-BEY. And those are the 4 ways that we can give. I want to thank all of you for being a part of this call, and also those of you who are obedient into sowing. Remember, who you sustain will always determine how you get maintained. And so we are delighted. Once again, I want to thank Reverend Israel for all your support, man. I got to tell you, man, you've been there 100%. You know, I just thank you for your leadership, your mentorship, constantly, you know, just being there. I mean, we get on the phone and talk for hours and just talk about everything. And just to see where I'm getting ready to go and the things that have been opening up to me since we've been filling in for you on the sabbatical is just mind-blowing. I mean, teaching the metaphysical, the Millionaires, Secrets of the Bible, the Lessons in Wisdom call, it just seems like everything happens for a reason. You know, you took the sabbatical. I was able to get into that spot and begin to teach, and just so many things have opened up, doors and opportunities and different things. So I just want to thank you for being there 100%. And we look forward to you next Sunday, being on the call. And also, we're excited. You know, I posted it in the chat. Everybody's excited. Everybody's waiting. We can't wait to hear the word from the master teacher. And so we are excited about that. Once again, those of you that are going to sow the seed, I appreciate you, and know that the seed that you release will be circulated back to you 100-fold return. And we speak that into existence. Also, Wednesday night will be our last Wednesday as well. I'll be teaching on Wednesday night, so we're looking forward to that. Those of you that want to jump on that call, it's going to be the same number, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. And just before we leave, I'd like to say this one thing. Your destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. Thank you, and have a great day.